As you can see, whenever Cooper turns a corner in the narrative, he is searching for something connected to his daughter's background. He can even see a glimpse of his own past self in one moment. However, how? The tesseract cube is a four-dimensional object that he falls into as soon as he enters a black hole, according to the movie. As you are all aware, this science has been verified as being based on actual science and is incredibly accurate. Can we therefore actually enter a 4D object and manipulate time, the fourth dimension? Now imagine what it would be like to be able to enter the time dimension. Beyond the boundaries of time, are there higher dimensions? Various iterations of string field theory demonstrate that the universe can have somewhere between 5 and 26 dimensions. The existence of 36 dimensions in the universe is demonstrated by superstring theory. Can we even imagine these dimensions as humans? And if so, in what way? Now let's examine another intriguing observation before trying to make sense of all these confusing ideas. Let's examine this scene from his daughter's point of view. You can see that Cooper and his daughter are able to communicate here. However, his daughter is only able to sense him in some strange way. She is unable to see or hear him. Her look gives the impression that she can sense someone else's presence. Therefore, are ghosts and souls the same entities from another dimension that are attempting to connect with us? And if beings in the fourth dimension has the ability to govern time, what kind of abilities will beings in the 10th dimension possess? Now let's delve deeply into this realm of dimensions and eliminate any meaningless information once and for all. And let's examine what constitutes pseudoscience and what the true scientific agreement is on this issue. Alright friends, throughout my research into these dimensions, I discovered that numerous films assert that the cosmos consists of 10 dimensions. Furthermore, this theory states that you will gain the ability to manipulate time as soon as you cross over from the third to the fourth dimension. You will have the ability to fast forward, rewind, and slow down time with the aid of this power. You will be able to easily pick your favorite moment from the screen and relive it. Indeed, Cooper possessed this ability in the Interstellar film as well, therefore granting you access to data. It will be beyond your ability to alter. We will therefore need to travel to the sixth dimension if we wish to alter the data or our history in these dimensions. You will essentially inherit all of Doctor Strange's abilities from the Marvel Cinematic Universe the moment you enter the sixth realm. Now, if you saw the Avengers film Infinity War, you will see that Doctor Strange is seated in this position and is going over each of the 14,605,000 potential outcomes of war one at a time. He then hands over the time stone to his adversary Thanos. And the only reason he acts in this way is because Doctor Strange has observed in all of these scenarios that in this specific reality, he is handing over the time stone to Thanos without any problems. Thanos ultimately fails only in that particular timeline. Regretfully, none of the Avengers survive in the alternate realities. This implies that he essentially saw every opportunity for life that resulted from his deeds. He merely picked the finest, writing his own destiny in a sense. However, there is still a constraint. You can only view and modify your own timelines in the sixth dimension, and only those that are now in existence. There is no way to make new timelines. You will need to ascend to the seventh or eighth dimension if you wish to possess this power as well. It's literally possible to make new timelines. Now folks, keep in mind that up until now, all I have done is summarize what internet videos have to say about this. I have not yet begun my genuine analysis and scientific perspective, regardless of whether there is agreement or disagreement on these ideas in contemporary science. Prior to comprehending the capabilities of the entity capable of accessing the seventh and eighth dimensions, this is essentially the reason. The well-known American physicist Hugh Everett claimed that our timeline split into two halves whenever we had to make a decision in life. Furthermore, when viewed in a larger context, our timeline at last seems to be branching. Assume for the moment that this is your current timeline and that you have made all of the decisions you have made. You can see from this that there is only one common origin, which is your birth. And by getting to the sixth dimension, you will be able to control the decisions you make for your timeline that come after that starting point. The most significant decision, however, is that you will not be able to choose the house in where you are born. You will only be able to do this once you transcend into the 7th or 8th realm. In summary, having entered the 8th dimension has allowed you to glimpse into the future, identify potential issues there, and even select the place of your birth. However, do you not believe that these capacities are still lacking? You can accomplish anything you have accomplished thus far inside your own time frame. Neither this world nor the timelines of others are within your control at this time. In other words, you are still fundamentally weak on the scale of this cosmos. The whole multiverse and each of the several separate timelines within those multiverses will be within your control, but you will only be able to acquire this power. When you move up the ladder to higher dimensions, your skills will continue to advance, making you the strongest and most potent being in the cosmos. Is this even true, though? So, in order to comprehend this, let's first examine what dimensions represent in terms of pure science. And see, this is really fairly easy. This shouldn't seem like a huge deal. Therefore, the essential notion of dimension is the freedom of motion of anything in space. As an illustration, consider this point, which is neither long, nor wide, nor tall. You are therefore unable to travel freely at this time in any direction. This space has 0 dimensions as a result. However, if I extend and widen this place, a line will be drawn. Additionally, you are free to move in at least one direction on this line. This line is a one-dimensional space as a result. Now, a square will develop when you stretch this line in this manner, wherein you have unrestricted movement in the front, rear, left, and right dimensions. Thus, this turns into our 2-dimensional area. In the end, a cube is created when I extend this square upward, allowing you to travel freely in all 3 dimensions: front, rear, left, right, and up and down. We also claim that we live in a 3-dimensional 3D universe, since our universe allows us to move freely in 3 separate dimensions. In order to walk on this or in 4D space, you must now expand this cube farther and create a space that is made up of this shape, which is known mathematically as a tesseract cube. Will we be able to go in this 4D tesseract cube and control time now? Well, I seriously doubt that, and I believe you do as well, since time, rather than space, is the 4th dimension in Einstein's theory of relativity, which states that our universe is actually 4 dimensions. However, the difference lies in the fundamental nature of this time dimension. It is entirely distinct from space and not a dimension at all. What distinguishes this dimension from the space dimension furthermore? We will continue to discuss this. However, using this same idea, a science fiction kitschy has been created in the Interstellar film by combining 2 distinct meanings. Cooper falls inside the tesseract cube, which symbolizes the 4 dimensions of space, as he enters the black hole. However, as he steps inside, he starts to manipulate Einstein's suggested 4th dimension of time. Why is this reasoning flawed? Simply put, all of this reasoning is predicated on the idea that our universe functions like a prearranged block universe in which time travel is merely a means of experiencing events that have already occurred. And for that reason, the universe allows us to manipulate time by moving it both ahead and backward. For instance, we are able to travel forward and backward in the space dimension. Think of this universe as a DVD where all the information about the events is pre-installed. It can also be played both forward and backward. Now consider the issue with this. This kind of visualization of the cosmos serves as theoretical evidence for its determinism. Furthermore, nothing in this universe happens at random. Everything is planned. On the other hand, the primary field of science, quantum mechanics, has repeatedly demonstrated that everything in the cosmos occurs at the most fundamental or basic level, that is, randomly at the quantum level, and scientists were granted the Nobel Prize last year in order to demonstrate the nature of the cosmos. Thus, it is evident that the idea of considering time to be a dimension similar to space leads to a significant dilemma. However, you know what's amusing? The line contains 2 more paradoxes. The grandfather paradox is the first. This paradox states that if one of us modifies our chronology by traveling back in time, the timelines of all the other persons involved will collapse as a result, creating a cascading effect. Furthermore, it will contradict the initial block universe's presumption that everything has already been written, because everything is written as though it were predetermined, but the syllabus is updated every few seconds. This is the reason it is highly implausible that a ghost or spirit from a higher dimension could be sitting there and interacting with our timeline. The second paradox in thermodynamics is the collapse of the entropy concept. We shall now also learn about the actual meaning of time at this point. Time is an illusion, according to theoretical physicist Carlo Rovelli, the author of The Order of Time, which originates from repeated continuous motion. Examples of continuous, repetitive motions that measure variations in the universe are the clock, the Earth's orbit around the Sun, and the Earth's continuous, repetitive motion around itself. For instance, the kilometer is used as a unit of measurement in the image to represent the distance traveled when traveling from point A to point B. Similarly, given an object A that was about to undergo a change in B, what was its trajectory toward that change? Time was included in the picture for that. The lesson here is that time is not a magical entity that brings about transformation. The forces causing change are the dark energy, quantum fluctuations, entropy, and the second law of thermodynamics. Time is the only gauge of those modifications because the universe's entropy is always rising. As stated by the second law of thermodynamics, humans are now cognitively aware of the passage of time. Put simply, there will always be an increase in the amount of knowledge about our cosmos. Everything on Earth was concentrated in one place approximately 13.7 billion years ago. That is to say, there wasn't much information. But suddenly, there was a Big Bang. The cosmos began to grow. From energy, protons, electrons, and neutrons were created. Then, by combining these basic particles, more than 150 distinct components were produced. Eventually, we have progressed to the point where these components have created solar systems, planets, galaxies, and even people like ourselves. In other words, new information was contributed, and the universe's randomness, that is, its constant change owing to entropy, was measured using a framework we named time. Consequently, if time is measured by the spatial dimension, it will obviously violate the second rule of thermodynamics, which states that the universe's entropy will constantly increase, meaning that it will continue to move forward in the same direction. This led to the creation of yet another conundrum. As a result, the way the time dimension is portrayed in fictional films or motion pictures is incorrect. Hopefully, you now have a better understanding of the true nature of time. Does this imply that Einstein's theory is incorrect then? Einstein himself did not think the block universe made sense. In actuality, relativity has only measured relative motion within the framework of time. Stated differently, it is movable forward and backward at will. He believed that space has an integrated dimension called time. A unique dimension that, because of the unique consistency of light, is exquisitely integrated from space within their relativistic context. This is due to the science fiction industry's exaggerated scientific beliefs, which are now quickly permeating popular culture, since it's far more awesome than the dull realities of life. You see, in order to draw you in as well, I had to demonstrate all of this. But only new people seem to be drawn in this way, in my experience. Knowing the true nature of the cosmos, or the actual reality, once they are inside and witness the real science, they begin to like it more than science fiction, since every human being is fundamentally like that. That is why, to gain a fundamental understanding of our universe and world, for what it truly is. Regarding the extra dimensions, there are at least 3 widely accepted forms of the string theory that predicts these dimensions. As I mentioned previously, also forecasts 3 distinct dimensions, just as 10 dimensions are predicted by superstring theory, 11 dimensions are predicted by M theory, 26 dimensions are also predicted by bosonic string theory. The Kaluza-Klein predecessor theory predicts 5 dimensions when discussing it. In the end, though, this is all simply a mathematical foundation, wherein dimensions have been added in order to make our equations balanced. We are essentially shooting in the dark. You must comprehend the motivation behind the creation of string field theory in order to grasp this. In the 1960s, researchers investigated a number of mathematical models in an effort to better understand how quarks confine themselves within protons and neutrons, which might explain quark, neutron, and proton behavior. During this procedure, one of the mathematical computations revealed that these particles must exist as vibrating strings rather than as spherical spheres. Similar to how individual particles vibrate on guitar strings, so do we. Furthermore, the strong nuclear force that binds these particles together originates from these regions. All in all, an atom is a collection of vibrating strings according to string theory. What role does the head of dimensions presently play? Since we are searching for a son-in-law for the theory of everything, forces were initially combined when this theory was developed, a theory that can apply quantum mechanics and conventional physics to big objects. Where did the issue originate now? The strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, and electromagnetic force, along with the calculations of string theory, were able to explain them. However, in the gravitational force example, only classical and quantum physics are considered. It was assumed in the calculations that these strings vibrate in more than 3 dimensions. And now for the confusion surrounding 5, 10, 11, and 26, as well as all the related concepts. In summary, multiple dimensions are the only thing that string theory predicts. What will those measurements be like? How will the physics laws apply to them? It is still far, far behind in understanding these things. Pocket dimensions are less than quarks because of the dimensions indicated in the calculations. Therefore, it's plausible that these pocket dimensions are currently flowing through the empty space in the atoms in your palm. That is to say, it is feasible that you are continuously traveling across those dimensions even while you view this video, and you have no idea of it at all. Alternatively, it is possible that in the future the entire framework of string field theory will be annihilated because a more sophisticated theory will eventually emerge that will provide the right response free from bizarre dimensional predictions. What are your thoughts then? Do these other dimensions exist as well? Up till now, you have viewed the video. Please leave your responses in the section below, such that even I can be assured that you are truly grasping the ideas. Nevertheless, I believe that as time goes on, our comprehension of these aspects will become more refined, particularly when we develop technology that allows us to see the universe at even smaller sizes than what is possible at the quantum level. In other words, objects the size of the Planck length. And believe me, this is a very difficult assignment. The Planck length is so short that it will literally be the size of an atom in front of an electron the size of the Earth if we make it that huge. Why, in reality, is it that the Planck length's visualization is so crucial to physics? You can view the in-depth video I've already created on this subject by clicking the I button here. This video is quite fascinating. You'll gain a very distinctive viewpoint on science. Please like this video if it has taught you something new. And remember to subscribe to the channel so that more educational and entertaining videos will be posted here in the future. So, bye for now. See you in next video.